Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of the Low Code Café, episode 56. My name is Bogdan Litescu. I am the owner and founder of Plant&App. And for those of you that are new to this event, know that it's something that we are doing every week, same day, same hour, and it's a community event, a technical event. So basically, we go through a lot of different topics from new releases, demos of new features, but also we have hands-on work where we implement systems, where we use certain features to solve some problems. This event is recorded, and then everything is published on our YouTube channel. We'll post the link in a chat in a couple of minutes. And here you have 55 hours of really good content, and we received the feedback from new people, new users of Plant&App. That is really helpful to see real practical uses of Plant&App, and this is used as a good training resource as well. So the agenda for today will have some community updates from Chad. Chad is our sales engineer, and he has some interesting stories for us with some use cases that he's seeing with customers. After which we'll move on to Reza, our head of product, to give us news about the latest and coolest release yet. After which we'll hear some stories from Dale, our head of support, some stories from the support channel where we can see some practical solutions to problems. And finally, we'll have Radu give us a training update, after which continuing the series that we started 3 editions ago on how to structure a low-code application. Feel free to engage with us in any way possible. There is a chat window, there's the Q&A window, so feel free to reach out. There's also a feedback form that will come towards the end. We really appreciate your feedback, as that is what helps us improve the content in this webinar. So without further ado, I would like to invite Chad to give us his piece. Would you like to share your screen, Chad, or do you want me to keep it?
Yes, please. If you could let me share.
Sure.
Awesome. So thank you. Today we're going to be looking at a recent article by Gartner outlining the key changes that enterprise resource planning vendors need to focus on, and why low-code will be the future of ERP integrations and customizations. It sounds a lot like stuff you're not going to be interested in, but I promise you this, that there is a reason why we're talking about it today, as low-code is going to be a huge key point to the future of ERP and the way things are going to look today. I do recommend reading this article. They say it takes about 17 minutes, give or take, and it has a lot more details about the specifics on what they believe will be needed to be changed, but I'm going to highlight for you a lot of the things that they've put together and where some of those key pieces outline within. So the future state of ERP will be defined by integrated applications that be composed and recomposed to deliver customer-defined business capabilities. The idea behind a composable ERP is to have an adaptive technology strategy that enables the foundational, administrative, and operational digital capabilities, enabling an enterprise to keep up with the pace of business changes. In layman's terms, this means that your strategy with your ERP needs to be highly configurable and flexible to adapt swiftly with the market and as your business moves and grows. The future state of ERP will be defined by integrated applications. Sorry, it looks like my notes just got messed up here. Nope, we are okay. Sorry about that. Thought we were reading the same thing again, because I don't want to repeat kind of what this piece is about here for you guys. So what this is kind of breaking down for us in different ways is what's called the modern era, and I love the naming scheme of how everything goes about this. So there's the modern era of everything is built into the ERP, here's how it integrates, and then the postmodern era was we have all these integrations in between, and then there's a composable ERP future where you have those what look like satellite pieces, but essentially what those are is pinpoint pieces for what each business needs. And the idea behind a composable ERP is to have an adaptive technology strategy that enables the foundational administrative and operational digital capabilities, enabling an enterprise to keep up to pace with the business changes. So that is the key piece about this. The biggest thing we're going to see is an ERP is a strategy and requires constant engagement, review, and innovation, as it is not a singular business application. An ERP strategy needs to align the application portfolio to the business objectives and adapt as you grow through the market. Gone are the days when an ERP can be put in place and not touched until the next upgrade in 5 to 7 years. That's definitely the case that we have now and what was in the past, but your business needs to have a strategic roadmap that your IT team can support with their own technology roadmap without the assistance of the ERP's system integrations team. That way you're fully self-sufficient, you're in control, you can make it specific to your exact needs. An unfulfilled promise of the monolithic ERP architecture was to have a single data model to provide visibility of end-to-end transactions. In the end, the reality of it is the integration part is actually needed and is thought of as an implementation phase with constant ongoing maintenance throughout time. Where low code and no code skills come into place is that they can actually take the place of a traditional team where your traditional team is highly skilled individuals in a specific area or coding language. They're going to be needed, but maybe not for this specifically. Low code can help you share the burden and increase efficiency across a larger team by having more individuals who can do a lot of the work. That way things can happen faster and much easier. And integration capabilities tied together with low-code applications will provide you with full control over your ERP systems. Support will be simplified, your future needs will be easily attainable, and customizations are ultimately in your control at that point. There is work to be done here by the ERP systems, but low-code can start building the necessary bridges between those systems so that you're never stuck in the "we've always done it this way" type of phase ever again. And this last image here highlights what some of those what looked like satellite pieces were. And one excerpt I've taken directly from Gartner here kind of spells out what ERP needs, what the actual application leaders in ERP needs to do. So when ERP application leaders start delivering composable services to customers, modern application architectures bring a tremendous opportunity to deliver value in a way that a heavily customized monolithic suite cannot. The organization with this type of structure is free to deploy any combination of suites, point solutions, and services to meet its unique needs, and that's where we can see at that top level there, every piece has all the little individual pieces that they specifically need. The IT organization itself can do the implementation work of integrating these applications and data together to deliver strategic business capabilities. That's that composable ERP bar there where you can control all that API and how they all integrate between each other. They can provide standardized processes on a global scale for as many capabilities as your business partners wish. They can integrate multiple clouds to deliver end-to-end processes with disparate vendors, while still protecting your data with the highest security. They can differentiate processes and capabilities with multi-tiered approaches to the specific needs of the business in regions where standardization doesn't fit. They can build ERP applications and services that allow for rapid merger, acquisition, and divestiture of businesses. So the purpose of this future is to compose applications that fulfill these specific capability requirements of the business. Some capabilities can be accomplished by a single vendor provided suite of applications. Other more complex capabilities require an integrated set of applications to best provide the value to the business itself. The ERP application leaders, so those that are creating these ERPs and delivering those services, they become the maestro that weaves the data and applications together to fulfill the needs of the business. As the business changes and new models are required, the applications are recomposed to deliver the new capabilities, and all of this is easily integrated through simple low-code applications. The future of ERP holds a lot of possibilities with low-code tools like Planet App, and it's only going to get easier as time moves on. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys today, as I do think it is a very important piece. I know Bogdan has shared it with a lot of individuals, so you might already know this, but for those who haven't seen it, this is something to keep your eye on, as low code is only going to get more and more important to businesses as we move forward.
Thanks, Chad. And to add a bit more context to this, it really came as it started as a conversation a couple of months ago with a customer that had a very old ERP built on top of DNN, but it was like 12 years old, and they came to us with the idea that they need a facelift. But in the end, they realized that they had a monolithic system that was very old, very difficult to upgrade because they had like thousands of screens You know, so it was very difficult to just do that facelift. You know? So in the end, it turned out that they need a new architecture and a new modern architecture, and that composable ERP really helped shape what the solution should look like. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Chad, for bringing it up and sharing the stories with the community. Now I would like to pass it to Reza, our head of product, to give us the highlights of the new release.
Thanks, Bogdan. Yep, and as Bogdan mentioned, so I'm really happy to say that the 1.15 release is out and it's live now. You can upgrade from within the application. I know a few weeks back we went kind of in depth and looked at some of the new features and things, so I'll just touch on them. From within the application, before you take the update or after, there's the in the update section, there is the change log, and you can read through. There's over 65 updates, enhancements, fixes, things like that in there. Focused a lot on stability. In the 1.15 release, there was a major new feature that I think is going to be huge for people. It's the ability to run a workflow as a token, and so you can put that token anywhere, use it in a lot of ways, pass things into it inline, and the result of that token will be whatever your outputs of the workflow are. And so you can just access their fields individually if you like. So you can now use workflows to do some advanced logic where you want to enable or disable something. You can use the workflows to generate layout, UI, whatever, and put it in an HTML module and have that do things. Or just execute the token action throughout any of the different features and have it do things. So, you know, manipulating data, setting session, accessing session, cookies, this sort of thing. Without needing a whole lot of actions that you have embedded inside of the modules, right? So you can just drop this token anywhere tokens are supported and run the workflow server side, get the results back, and do what you want with them. So I encourage you to check that one out. I think it's gonna really change and expedite the way you build things. A couple other things I'll touch on that were kind of enhancements and new things. So we now have reCaptcha v3, and so that's, if anyone's not familiar, kind of a way to make sure that real humans are using your site. And it's put out by Google. In the v3 of it, it is no longer like, hey, which one of these has a train in the picture, or any of the strange hoops people always had to jump through and everyone hates kind of interacting with. It's got some AI and machine learning algorithms behind it, and it can just kind of tell. So we've got some good documentation there. It's a new action that you can use in forms. I encourage you to check that out and take a look, give us feedback on it. We are there's a lot you can do with this one, and so we're very open to hearing how you all use it, want to use it, and make adjustments. Continuously, we are improving the date-time developer experience. More info on that in the change log. The actions that are generated by your entities. So for creating a record inside, updating, partially updating, deleting, any of those now have on error events. So if something goes wrong, you can actually handle that in workflows, anywhere that you can use those actions. Continuing to move to page builder being the default theme everywhere. The login, password reset type pages, we're still using the old theme, so that everything's kind of moved over now. When you upgrade your existing instances, we didn't touch anything there, so you can change that yourselves if you wanted. And know if people had customized or overrode or worked around there, but anything new you generate or spin up will ship all the way with page builder. I know that there were several people in the community that are using Too Sexy Content, really cool third-party module for doing content management, we'll say. Very modern layouts and things like that. There were some issues in the way common code between Plant an App and App Builder and Too Sexy were kind of competing and looking for things in different places. We worked together with them, and I think we've got that resolved. So if anyone's been looking out for that, you should have that fixed when you upgrade, as well as adding it now new to an existing instance if you do want to check it out for your content needs. Everything should work good. Have continued to add to the logging, the dislogs. So inside of the logs section of App Builder, there are the admin alerts, errors that are kind of standard with the platform, but also there's a lot that gets written to disk. You can turn debug mode on and also capture a lot of things if you're troubleshooting or trying to figure out what's going on. No need to FTP or remote into a server. Pretty much everything now is accessible to you from there. All unified in one place. You can download those logs and just work with them locally. So, and then from a licensing standpoint, supporting for multiple domain names against the same license. So tons more stuff there in 15, security enhancements, things like that. Encourage you to check it out. Let us know if you find anything or if we missed anything, and we can maybe make something available as a hotfix. Looking forward into 1.16, we want to continue, and I've kind of talked about this in the last weeks, really keeping our focus on kind of a major feature that's going to help everyone, which is being able to ultimately support multiple environments. So if you have a development environment, you make your changes there, and you'll be able to push them up into QA and production type things ultimately. In order to get there, the first kind of path we're taking is to have the ability to export and import starter apps. A lot of what goes into doing that is what will be needed for multi-environment. So we kind of took this path so we could deliver some value along the way and learn as we go. We did a lot of work on that in 15. Didn't want to release it out prematurely, so it was going to be import only in 15. It'll be export and import in 16. That work continues. Confident that we'll have that. It is our major goal as far as new things go. A few things I do want to touch on from developer experience standpoint. I know that DNN 9.10 is out. We've kicked the tires a little bit. Things seem fine, but we're officially going to be certifying it in 16. All of our primary building, development, and testing will be done against 9.10. Very important milestone is that the new minimum version for 16 of DNN will be 9.6.2. So right now it's 9.3.2. We'll be bumping that up to 9.6. I believe 2, it might be 1, but don't think there's much difference there. So that's just kind of an important thing to keep in mind, and maybe getting yourselves, if you haven't updated, at least to 9.6.2, like we've talked about. It's a major milestone release for the platform, and I do encourage people to, if you can, start taking the steps to get yourselves updated. A lot of the stuff that we develop and built is built to leverage the capabilities that came out in the platform from that point forward. And so we've kind of, in order to support anything prior to that, had to maintain kind of double code, which slows us down and doesn't really let us take advantage of the capabilities of the platform. And so this is really so that we can move faster, the platform can be more stable. And so we're kind of cutting the ties with anything prior to 9.6.2. Things will still work and in prior versions and things like that. But if once you want to go to 1.16, you're going to want to be on 9.6.2, and the platform and the modules and things will not install on anything prior to that. A couple of cool things, so not just stability and security and housekeeping stuff, but having tabs within tabs. Sometimes when you have a lot of things going on, maybe if it's your main kind of page, a dashboard page, your admin console, kind of the place where you navigate your whole application, and you bring everything together in one place, think maybe your home page when someone signs in, you end up getting a lot of things going on in that page. And so tabs do help organize that. But a lot of times it would be great to have tabs, maybe vertical navigation and then horizontal navigation sort of thing. So extending the tabs feature to be able to allow you to specify and group and tab up things vertically or horizontally from within a tab. So just making it a lot easier to organize and navigate a lot of information that's on a page. Another one, you have the ability today, and a lot of people leverage this, it's kind of native in the system, is to have like hidden forms on a page and then hit a button and pop that form up. So bringing that functionality to listings, your grids, your calendars, your card layouts and things, being able to not have those exposed by default, but rather raised via a button. And so then, you know, people can interact with tabular data, the calendars, things like that, without having to go to a different page or have it exposed by default. There's a new Facebook and Google login features coming. Those have changed a lot from our prior integrations, and so kind of doing a fresh reboot of those. So that's going to give you kind of that, I don't want to say single sign-on, but not needing to register up or have usernames and passwords. You can do both, use them in unison or one or the other. That's coming. Also some work in workflows, since they're getting utilized so much and seeing a lot of things people are doing, the complexity is really going up in what people are doing with workflows. And a lot of times you might have a step in a workflow that's erroring, and in your logs, it's going to tell you, hey, the workflow step ID 15 had a problem. And then you go to your workflow and you're like, which one's 15? So wanting to clearly label those IDs on, as well as giving you the ability to capture the workflow that you're in, as well as the step that you're on, so that when you are logging your errors or telemetry or anything like that, you can also know which workflow it was. So that sometimes you see like, hey, there's just an error updating something. Don't know which workflow it happened from. You'll be able to specify that now, and those will be available within the workflow when you're building as tokens. A couple of last things I'll touch on then. As your complexity and entities in your data model go up, there is a view right now that you can click on, and it's a very visual kind of how things relate and map to each other. It especially when you have a lot of entities created, it becomes kind of unhuman viewable. And so what we're doing is making it so that you can pick from the listing a certain, maybe you're saying, where is everywhere that this particular entity is linked up or leveraged, because maybe it's a status or something, and several of your other entities are leveraging status. Or, you know, it's maybe users or documents, and you have list of documents, list of users, and you want to know where all is this thing playing in. So you will basically pick a little icon that looks like the tree, and it will take you to the kind of tree visual view, highlight the one that you selected, and only scope everything that is related to the one you're looking at. So it's letting you target and say, where is this used? How is it connected to other things? And I think it becomes a very, very useful view. One, just to see how your data model works. The other is if you make a change and then you say, okay, I maybe need to go and test, or I need to go adjust forms and different things I've created, you're going to be able to spot more easily, where am I using this? Where is it linked up in the data model? And then the last one, I encourage anyone who wants to come to Campfire this Friday. I'm going to be kind of previewing this a little bit to get feedback. But a lot of times when you're creating an entity, let's say tickets, you know, I'm making a support app or something, and I'm going to have somewhere where I log tickets. I'm in there, I'm creating this entity called tickets, and then I realize I want to have a status for my tickets. Well, I haven't created that table yet, that entity. So now I need to like save and leave, go create it, come back, link it up, realize I need another one. Got some kind of cool ideas and functionality that's actually working right now. And I just want to see if this is going to meet people's needs, if there's any feedback. But while you're in there and you go to select, I want to link this to this entity, you need to create it. There's a button, and you'll kind of be able to go and create that entity, finish up, come back, and it's available in the list. So you don't need to leave, and you can keep generating these related entities and kind of connect everything up. So I think, one, it'll be a huge time saver, and two, it kind of gets out of this chicken and egg thing we're in, which is, well, if I know I'm going to have like ticket status, should I go create that one first, then come create ticket, stuff like that? You'll be able to start at your main one and create the related entities as you need them without having to lose or leave the progress that you're making with the primary entity. So again, if anyone's interested in that, would love to show it in Campfire this Friday and see what you all think, and if it's meeting the mark or not, and if there's sure there'll be some good ideas that we can take into consideration. So, but other than these things, I know it sounds like we're doing a lot of new stuff here. A lot of focus on the stability of the platform, security, this sort of thing, and just making sure what we have now is a really, really great, solid experience. So a lot of work going to go into that as well. And
Reza, that sounds like a big stack of stuff for the next month and a half. So we'll look forward to that. There is one question on the question and answer about importing and apps, importing and outporting, my goodness, importing and exporting apps in 1.15 and whether or not that made it. And I think you answered it, that and maybe even Bogdan, maybe you have a comment about that.
Yeah, so it is not exposed. A lot of work has went there into it, and it's actually in 15, but it's not exposed externally. If anyone's really interested in that and would like to kind of, like in the spirit of the entity from within an entity, get some early kind of access, look at it here in 16, let's talk, and would love to get some feedback on that and things. But yeah, we're taking up the export and import both in 16, and I think it's going to end up being something better and more usable, almost beyond a proof of concept. Just having that extra time to see it through properly. It's a major deal, and didn't want to get it out there too soon.
Very good.
Okay.
Bogdan, did you have an add to that? No. Okay, good. Then in which case, let me jump in here. I'll share my screen and we'll move into from the trenches segment. And even as I get started, I wanted to point out that I've put a lot of things out, one big post out onto the chat. So if you'll look at that, we have Chad's contact information if you're interested in a big discount to upgrade to Plant an App from the DNN Sharp tools. I'm going to be talking about a no theme, no container page pop-up here in a minute, and the link for that is on the clipboard already. Reza mentioned low-code Campfire, which happens every Friday at 10 Central. So the link to register for that is on there. Our web recordings and the ability to subscribe, or all the places where we put these out on YouTube, is our channel on YouTube, so that's there. And then finally, we always love your feedback, so the feedback form is there, and we just appreciate those who have and continue to provide feedback and questions. So going from there then, today in trenches, this is actually something that, a couple of things that came out of our low-code Campfire last week. The first one is I presented a tip last week about using Control-Shift-T to reopen a tab that you closed down accidentally in a browser window, which I do from time to time. So that's a nice quick recovery. And that prompted, I think, someone on our team to mention that the Windows Clipboard is available, the Windows V key. And so that is a good way to copy and paste information and hold on to it. And so I'm going to take advantage of that right now. This that I have down here is that same link that we're going to be talking about in our demonstration. And I'm going to just put that on my clipboard, a Control-C. But if I look at Windows V and the clipboard pops up, we can see that pop in. And if you want to paste it, you just click on that. So Windows V, if you didn't know about it, and I didn't, there's so much I don't know. That's a useful one. So the topic today, opening a page in a pop-up, we'll cover this pretty quickly. We have I've designed a page that is on my form. It has a contact form and a listing of users, and on the assumption that we wanted to be able to incorporate this page in many places, or at least in one other place as a pop-up, we're going to incorporate that. So opening a page in a pop-up, I'm going to a blank page, and we'll build it right now. So I'm going to go into edit mode and add an action form. I'm just going to demonstrate this as a button in action form. And so we'll manage the form and do it as a blank form. Always recommend that you name forms. So I'm going to call this my navigate, whatever it makes sense to you in your application. And then we'll be using a button and adding actions to the button to open that page. So the action is a redirect to a portal page. And the page that we want to do is here. I'll find it on my list. It's within Low Code Cafe, as the name of that page is Page to Pop. So I'm going to choose that page, and I'm going to open it as a pop-up. So when we do this and save, and we'll go back and take a look at it. I'm going to close edit mode here, but we now have our navigate form. We have a submit button, and when we click it, it opens the page that we want to pop. We have our contact form, we have our user listing, but we also have extra stuff. We have this menu, we have a theme, we have all this that isn't necessary relative to what we wanted to accomplish. And so that's really the tip that I'm going to show you today. So I'm going to go in and go into the navigate form and again look at my submit buttons, redirect where we're popping this up, and I'm going to add a query string using my Windows Clipboard. And so this magic string that we have tells .NET Nuke that we're in print mode, that we have no skin, that we have no containers. It's just kind of a magic string you can copy and paste and it'll work for you. So I'm going to save that and refresh. And so now when we hit the submit button, the form pops and, excuse me, the page pops with the contact form and the users listing. So the design of this pop-up is such that you would be able to, this would be a way that you can use a page, not just a listing or a form, but an actual full page from another source. And so this could be, for example, a navigation. It could be a common action, that's something that you need to happen on lots of pages. That's the use case for this kind of thing, and it's really quite easy to do. So with that, we'll give the remainder of our hour over to Radu to talk about anything with Low Code Academy plus Low Code Development, our part 3.
Okay, thank you. So regarding the Academy update, everything is going absolutely great, but nothing changed from the last week. No, actually everything is going well, and the system was updated to 1.15 and it's going well. Certifications are flowing those days, so everything is going well on that point, but I don't have any specific updates on that yet.
Very good.
Okay, let me show my screen. Okay. Right. Let's jump straight to it. Okay, so we discussed until now about the naming conventions and best practices, and how to utilize to the best version to utilize the maximum of a low-code application. And we discussed a little bit about the workflows and entities and maybe a little bit of pages. But what I would like to talk today and is about tokens. And if we have the time, maybe we can discuss a little bit about the APIs. Something that I want to mention here is that tokens got a little bit of changed in 1.15, the version that I'm in. In general, the usage of the tokens is not gonna change by any means, but I want to show you some good best practices about calling a token from a token through Reza script, and and how to utilize the new feature of using the workflows as tokens today. So first of all, let's go there. Right. So adding a namespace. Keep in mind, one thing that I want to mention here is that the namespaces of the tokens are not linked to the namespaces of the entities and the workflows, at least not yet. So we'll have to create a new namespace in this situation. See. All right.
As a best practice, is it a good idea to name it as the same that you might use for entities, or?
Yeah, actually yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea will be that let me specify. The idea will be that in entities you can have namespace with spaces, while at the moment the tokens being the older, let's say the older component here into the system didn't support that. So having the namespaces linked at this moment will need some effort put into the application. So for the moment they are not linked together. Okay. Now, all right. So we have a namespace. Let's start creating a new token. On the same idea that we discussed in the previous 2 episodes is that I try to give names that will make the life easier for you and people working with you on the same system. So in the case that I have a namespace which is called low-code Café, let's say that I will have a token which is called 55, which is actually the episode number of today, or I can have episode 55. So local Café episode 55. So when I come back maybe to this instance, which is upgraded from local Café 27, actually, I know exactly that I created this token. But if I need more information, I can use the description section. This token does. This was created on 8/18/2021 as an example. Oops. Okay. All right. Another thing that you can do in here, you can specify the default value in case the token. The idea will be the token usually brings back one value, one information piece but also depending on the definition. It's depending on the definition, and it can only bring one value. But if the value is empty, we can choose a default value. It's not something I'm gonna do right now. But let's jump a little bit into the definitions. So we have the constant token, we have the database query, Reza script, HTTP request, and run workflow. The source set itself, it's something that we discussed already, but the idea will be that each individual definition of a token can get other parameters inside. So each individual token that we're creating, if you're a more technical person, each individual function that we're creating inside of one of those tokens can also have parameters. The constant token, database query, and HTTP request, and the newly run workflow have the same way of sending additional parameters to the run workflow, actually not, but let's say the constant token, the database, and the HTTP have a way of passing parameters inside of it. So, for example, let's take the constant token, and here you can have hey, and you can use the syntax and params, and you can put you can specify the parameter name that you want to have, and hey, and params name. I'm going to save and test on this one. And the idea it will be that not only the token that I've created, the low-code episode 55, I can specify a name. This is actually a parameter that is given, it's tokenized by the constant token. So if I click save and run it again, I'm going to have hey Radu and so on. So you can have you can concatenate strings, or you can use other tokens, even additional tokens from maybe even core tokens you can bring. So if you want to have you can bring I don't know, maybe not the user, but let's say URL main, the main. Okay, I'm gonna save. Okay, so I can use core tokens, or I can use token parameters. So what I want to mention here is that try to also create the name of the parameter, something that is easier. The token parameters do not have descriptions as the token have, so you'll have to think about naming the parameters properly. So when people look at the definition, if someone looks at the definition of a token, they'll have the name, the description, but they will understand what parameter they will have to pass in so they can get the responses. I saw, for example, usually how I like to create the namespace and the naming of the tokens is something like this. So if if I'm using, so let me show you actually. So I created a car, I think a car entity, and also a tractor entity. And in that case, sometimes it makes sense to have namespaces that are related to the entity that you are maybe querying. So if I want, I can say I can create an entity named car, and inside of it I can go and say by ID, and I have car by ID, and definition usually can be a database query that can have select. Okay, it can be a simple select, for example, select everything from app car where ID equals, and the same syntax that we have here, and prompts, and also whatever comes after the column, it's RBT. You can choose it. It's basically you choose the naming of the parameter by just specifying it here. So if I save this and maybe save and test, is going to give me an error because value is not a proper ID. But if I specify one, I'm just going to start getting values back. So this is the same thing. And if you know the naming of the columns, you can specify the columns here. For example, I think name is one of them. Or otherwise, if you're not specifying the columns, you're gonna get, if you're using the star notation in the query, you're gonna get all of the columns here. So you just put a dot and the name, and you're gonna get the proper column from the query, but that's a different story. All right, so we have the token params. It's the same as we have it in the same syntax that we have for the constant token, and the same. Let's go back to our episode 55 and change the definition, because we can do that. And for the HTTP request definition, we can use the same syntax of token params, get, let's say, or yeah, get URL. And by doing that, and if I click save and test, now my token is trying to do a request to, well, nothing at the moment, but I have something prepared. So I have some dummy APIs that I can use. And now I can, now I can pass the URL type parameter, and I'm just gonna get the same result. So the idea is that I've created a token that's doing get requests by just passing the URL. Now, what I like to do is change the definition again, and let's go. And I'm gonna leave the Reza script at the end and for a reason I'm going to explain it in a little bit. The newest feature that we have is the run workflow, and the run workflow is going to just let you choose one of the existing workflows. I think I have creation of car thumbnail, and I'm going to select the idea. It will be that, let me open a workflow at the same time. the idea will be that there can be one or multiple outputs for an workflow. I'm not really sure if this workflow works by any means, but the idea will be that you can have multiple workflow, multiple outputs. It's gonna be a number, let's say. Okay, I'm gonna save and close this, and let's go back to the. Let me maybe refresh this really quickly, and edit, and change the type. Go back, workflow, and creation of card thumbnail, and I can choose what parameter of the output of the workflow I want to be the default one, but at the same time with the same syntax, by adding a dot and the property name of the output of a token, I can utilize and bring the specific value back. So if I click save and test, what the input parameter is automatically decided based on the workflow input parameters, which in this case it's something called an image, which requires a file ID of an image. But at the same time, the output parameter by default, it's output 2, which is right, let's see, which is gonna bring me 3. But if I want to specify the second output, the thumbnail field, or the output 2 output parameter, I can just go and say not output, and I can specify the property of the workflow that I want to output. Save and run again, and it's still bringing 3. And otherwise, I will have thumbnail file ID. Let's say nail file ID. I think the workflow is okay. So it's nothing. It's just gonna bring the token, because the workflow is, as you can watch in the previous episode, doesn't do anything in this specific situation. All right, and let's discuss a little bit about the Reza tokens themselves, because Reza tokens have when we're discussing about Reza tokens, we by default discuss about writing some code, and it doesn't make sense to use the same syntax of TK and params as parameters. Something that I saw something that I saw in previous implementations was I was seeing people having like string a equals, and they were using this syntax to I don't know, name server, and displaying a as a result. Let's say save and test. They were using this syntax, and yes, you can. I think you can pass even if you want. You can pass the parameters like this name, and it's not auto-completing because it's the wrong way to do it. Oh, sorry, my bad. So it's working, but we are not even auto-completing this, because it's some older versions were auto-completing this as parameters that you can input as there can be used as input. But this what happens, it's not the proper way of doing things like that. If you want to bind, you can bind the input parameters of a Reza token through actual C# code, and an alternative to this can be this syntax, where you can say params dot the name of the name of the parameter as you want, and you can go dot value dot to string like this, and this will automatically autocomplete it's going to see that these are our input parameters, so it's going to help you to decide what are the input parameters, and those are going to be bindings that you can do through actual code, not by kind of hacking your way in as a parameter of the token. Another thing that I would like to show you now is how you can call a token inside the token, because for example in let's do token in call in Reza. All right, let's do it like this, and I'm gonna have a constant token, and this constant token can have a token name, and I'm just gonna do the same constant that we have here. Hey, welcome. All right, and if I test this one, all right. Okay, so I have hey, Radu, welcome. All right, perfect. The idea to be that if you want to call a token in the classic way, we just put a token inside the token parameter. So we have token in a token in a token and so on. But to utilize this in Reza, what you can do is for now that we have the token that is called token calling in Reza, what we can do is go into our Reza script and do something like this. So let's say we want the response of the token. So let's save our response, and we're just gonna say namespace, which is a local cafe. Okay, so we have to specify the namespace. Okay, got the name of the token, and now we have to specify the parameter in the parameter that we want. So it's name and column, and the parameter of the name can be, in this case, the A, which is the name value, or we can use like directly the parameter for this directly into the parameter, and we can delete this. All right, and let's output the response itself, and let's say toString. So all right, let's do it like this. And let's say save and test. And I forgot the semicolon. Right, save and test. Hey value, welcome. Let's say hey Radu, welcome. Save, play. So right now, what I'm doing is that I'm calling through code another token that I've created. So I created a function that I can call through to the Reza script through C# from a function between a function, but those functions are actually tokens that I can create. And the interesting part is that this applies for all the token types. So the cool part is that right now you can actually call workflows inside the Reza script. So you can combine the low code workflows inside with Reza scripts if you want. So if you have logic defined in workflows, you have the opportunity to call them in a C# snippet of code. So I think this is actually making the working with the platform really interesting. Okay. Maybe if there are questions, or Dale, if you have some questions regarding this, or
so there haven't been any questions yet. If anyone raises any, we'll certainly bring them in.
Okay.
The power of that is just very interesting. The power of the platform. Really, there's so much under the hood, and as you point out, the ability to call token within token under Reza. There's just the power is extensive.
Yeah, yeah, and I really like it. I really like this concept of mixing traditional coding with low code. You can have different levels of people with different knowledge levels about programming. You can have hardcore programming people that work and that's their life with coding, and you can have on the other side low code engineers that program through workflows, let's say. And here is the place to mix the traditional programming with low code programming, just by having calling tokens, basically calling functions. And one of the functions can be a workflow, can be an API request, and so on. You can have complex logic in one of the workflows, and by calling the workflow through the workflow, you can bring that response inside of a Reza script and utilize that. So if some of the logic of an workflow it's used in specifically some places of your application, but it's also needed inside the Reza script, you just created the ultimate, let's say, reusable component, which is visual build, but also able to be called through code. And I'm not sure if how many people know, but we on the side here we have additional assemblies. And if you're going to go a little bit more technical, you can have integrations that are on a DLL level with other systems that are running in the same Windows machine, the Windows Server machine, and you can call other applications on a code level, but on our side you can run the workflow. So I think it's, I don't know, it's something that I didn't imagine a few years ago that is going to happen, and it's I'm really excited of having this this feature of executing workflows as tokens.
So I know a lot of the times, most of the time, we'll see these code snippets happen in C#. I happen to come up on VB, and so there's a very similar syntax. You can flip to VB.net. There's a couple of things we have to do inside the script to make it work right for that. But if you happen to be a VB.net person, that's supported as well. So lots of flexibility there.
Yep.
Good. All right, is that, are you wrap? Oh, we do have a question. The ability to call assemblies rather than a using statement.
Well, you basically specify, Jim, you specify the assembly and then you are using the using statement. But in some situation, if you are using, for example, predefined assemblies from Windows, the application is going to pull the assemblies because it knows where they are located. But if you have if you code right now, if you go and do a console application or something like that, with the help of Visual Studio and put it on in a folder inside the website, you can call methods from it by specifying the path to the assembly. For example, if you want to specify something from the folder, you can just like that, and you just go with the assembly
.dll.
.dll, and this is anyway. And you can just do that, and if that assembly there, it's encrypting, decrypting, doing the API calls, or it's a third, it can be an SDK from a different application that provides an SDK. You can call the SDK of the application like that. So you specify the relative path in the bin folder, and after that you can you say using and the namespace inside the assembly, and after that all the methods are going to be available.
Very good. All right. I think that's it for questions. Is that the end of what you had prepared for today?
Yeah. Yep.
Very good. Bogdan, if you're available and you want to close us out, that would be great.
Sure. Thanks everyone for being here. We made it. We did another great episode, which will be available on YouTube in the coming days. Thanks again for being here. See you again next week. And in the meantime, we'd really appreciate having your feedback on the feedback form. That would really help us improve the content with every edition. So thanks, and see you again next time.